Du lyssnar på Metanol, en Speedway-podd i samarbete med NordicBet, spelbolaget med de bästa oddsen på nationell och internationell speedway. Stalllyktan, en av de mest anrika pubbarna i hjärtat av Örebro. Speedwaynyheter.se, Skandinaviens ledande nyhetssida för speedway. Kickpunch.se, en av de skarpaste illustratörerna och designerna på marknaden.
Hej och välkommen till Metanol, en Speedway-podd. Det är avsnitt faktiskt 78 och ja, vi börjar närma oss i mitten på säsongen. Lagen börjar formera sig. Det här är Metanol och med mig har jag väl förhoppningsvis Simon Nyman.
Ja, absolut, jag är med precis som vanligt. Från ett soligt Göteborg.
Ja, och här hälsar vi från ett soligt Kumla.
Ja, men du ser. Det är inte mycket att klaga på då.
Nej. Jag vet att vi har ett riktigt häftigt program framför oss. Är det någonting du vill säga innan vi kör igång?
Nej, jag tycker väl det är väl inte mycket att spara på. Det blir väl lite mer stuk av vinterserieprogram vi har framför oss. Det blir inte mycket snack kanske om förra veckans eller den här veckans omgång och sådana saker. Utan det blir lite mer stuket vinterserien. Så att det känns jättespännande för de brukar bli väldigt populära de avsnitten.
Ja, nej men jag tycker vi dunkar igång och det här är stort. Det här är nog bland det största vi har gjort, Simon, eller?
Ja, kan närma sig den kalibern.
Kan vara. Ja, låt mig presentera Speedwayens Mr Nice Guy som han kallas. Han är den odödliga Mr Greg Hancock. Välkommen.
Ja, tack för att jag kan vara med er.
Ja, du är varmt välkommen och ja, vi har ju försökt där några gånger och nu äntligen får vi till det.
Ja, det har vi gjort. Ja, jag tror att det var mest från min sida. Vi kunde inte hitta rätt tid men ändå, det har gått bra så jag är stolt nu.
Ja, härligt. Ja. Hur mår familjen?
Ja, de är bra. Alla är friska just nu och vi är mitt i säsongen och mitt i sommaren och det är soligt och fint och varmt och allt så kan inte grina.
Nej, kan inte grina. Nej. Och en sak skulle du veta, Greg, att vi sa det lite innan, men vill du ta ett svar på svenska, vill du ta det på engelska eller ska vi köra svengelska, så är det helt okej för oss. Vi behärskar väldigt skapligt båda språken i alla fall och jag vet att du är ju du fixar det också.
det blir svengelska, säkert.
Ja.
Det är bra.
Ja. Nej, vi är otroligt glada att du är igång, att du är med och jag vet att du laddar lite för GP nu på din hemmabana, får vi säga så?
Ja, absolut. Det här är en allt är bra. Jag har en för mig det är laddad och för att komma tillbaka till Hasselvik är fantastiskt. Banan, jag körde för Örebrospelaren för så många år och det var länge sedan att jag kunde säga att det var hemmaplan, men varje gång jag kommer dit det känns att jag är hemma igen, så det är bra samtidigt. Men det är kul.
I can take this in English if you feel more comfortable about that. But you start your career in Rospiggarna in 1995, and you drove for them for like almost 15 years. It must be a special feeling to come back and doing a Grand Prix there.
Exactly. It's for me to many people have pretty much why are we going from Friends Arena to House de Vic, first of all, and it doesn't. BSI has been building this whole thing up in the Grand Prix for so many years, and trying to go to capital cities and places like that. And now we're moving from Friends, which speaks for itself, to House de Vic, this little town up on the coast of Sweden here in the Roslagen area, and it's still, for me, it's the place is huge. You have Speedway and you have the paper mill in House de Vic, and it's the truth, and the people get behind. Back when the paper mill was in great working form, there was most of the city was working there, and then you have the Speedway, which everything was kind of helping each other. So for me, I felt like I became a big part of the town, the area, the Speedway, and the whole community. So after so many years, you feel like you are definitely a part of the club, and I've been through them with financial difficulties a couple of times, and always rode out the wave. So I've had some good times, some hard times, but it's always been great no matter what.
Yeah.
Is this
and also? Sorry, Simon. Take it.
No, but is this also because I listen to your podcast as well, and I've heard you are a big part of the marketing around, not maybe the Grand Prix itself, but the marketing around Roslagen together with the Grand Prix. Do you feel like comfortable with doing that, or should it be a Swede doing that, or is it just because you feel like this is your home, or how is the situation there?
It's kind of all of the above. The whole thing, and a lot of people know I have my base here in Norrtälje, and in the Roslagen community, so it is kind of like a home away from home. And I have my wife is from House de Vic originally, so we have a lot of ties to this area, but. Most recently, my neighbor here, who is literally just a few meters away, she works for the tourist bureau, Visit Roslagen, and she's always doing things and trying to activate the area for the Speedway, etc. And she approached me about this project with Visit Roslagen to go out and help them to promote it and try to make something cool and show the people that this is not just a little town. There's so much going on around this area, and if you're going to come here to watch the GP, you ought to stick around and actually see what more there is to offer. So the BSI didn't really have much to do with the whole program. It all came from Visit Roslagen here in Norrtälje, who put it all together. And I said to them at the same time, like you did, are you sure I'm the right person for this? Because maybe you should take somebody from Sweden who is a local boy, or a local, someone from this area or whatever, or I'm happy to join in and do it with you. But they said, no, but we like what you guys are doing, and we like the podcast, and we like, that you're always here to help out when we do other things and our bicycle rides and all that stuff. So yeah, that's how it, in a nutshell, that's how it happened, man.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Great. I must ask you, Micke Törnberg, he works a lot with this. How close are your connection with Micke?
Well, Micke and I, we go way back, and we've been friends for years and years. So maybe we're not as close these days, and more than we're competitors, with different teams. But all I know is he has done an amazing job with the club since he took it over. And every year there's massive improvements. It took step by step, but he's really he's taking this thing to another level. And if you haven't been to the arena yet since they made all the improvements, you will be in for a surprise. It's absolutely amazing what they've done there. They've transformed the place. So I can't say anything remotely critical, or constructive, critically, in the wrong way. I can only say that this man, I take my hat off to him, and everything that he's done, he's taken on a lot and seems to have most of it under control by doing it himself, with hiring all the right people. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be great.
Yeah. I actually got some pictures today from the arena, and now it's not look like a Swedish arena, it's look like a Polish arena.
I think there might be a few, Polish construction workers there working too, you know, that are from local communities, and you know, we got businesses here, so there is a Polish touch to it.
Okay, but it looks very, very great. The what you call it, depot?
Yeah, the pits.
The pit area.
Yeah, exactly. It's very big and it's very great, and all the rooms for the riders where they can shower and everything is new building. I think they have something going on there.
They absolutely do. I think they claim it's the largest depot or pit area in European Speedway now, or I mean, definitely in Sweden. So
I think so too.
It's massive, and it's all tarmacked, and yeah, it's really, really cool. I'm really shocked.
Yeah.
Great. So what, so what's your feeling about? You mentioned a little bit the Grand Prix, or the BSI moved the Grand Prix from the capital of Sweden, from Stockholm, Friends Arena, to this smaller place. If you look at it in general, do you like the big city races with the temporary tracks, or is it better to have these small, genuine speedway cities, smaller arenas, but maybe where the crowd will come? Or what do you think about it?
Well, I mean, generally the racing tends to be a lot better on the permanent tracks. You know, I think that's kind of proven itself over the years. However, the temporary tracks seem to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more firm, and they really know what they're doing. It's kind of an art to building a temporary track and making it work for one night. And you know, they're doing really, really well. So the thing that kind of plays a bit for some of the racing these days is the bikes are getting better and faster and more aggressive, and the tracks don't really grow with the bikes that much. So you have, if we can look at perhaps even Cardiff is kind of tight, but the racing can still be pretty good there. You know, we don't have a lot of options, but you stay close to each other anyway. If you go to somewhere like Torren, a permanent track in Torren, there it's not a big track, but they've made it very wide. They've made incredible racing lines. They don't need to put much dirt on the track, and it's a little bit slick, but the racing is so close and so many different options. You can go inside, outside, up the middle. You know, it creates really exciting speedway. So Melbourne, they built a really, really fantastic track, and it's sad that we're not going back there. But that was a temporary track built in a huge arena that was really wide, lots of racing lines and great racing, I think. But
is that one a little bit compared to what we had in Gothenburg in Ullevi, or is it bigger, even bigger?
You know what? No, it would have been smaller than Ullevi for sure. Because Ullevi, I think you have more. It feels like the shape of Ullevi is more oval shaped anyway, but the straightaways were really, really long in Ullevi, where the arena in Melbourne there is a little bit more of a kind of a big round arena, you know. So you have length, and you have width. So they made the track was more like a big circle almost, but you had these long straightaways with long kind of drawn out corners as well. So it was a matter of just trying to keep your wheels in line all the time that you were drifting at the same time. So fast and full of options.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think about not going to Melbourne? And do you know why it's not in Melbourne?
It's most probably it's financial. You know, that they probably haven't got the return that they had hoped for from the beginning, and which is a shame, because Australia is where Speedway originated, and you would have thought that it would take off a little bit more, and Melbourne's a great city for it. There's a lot of race fans. However, they have that race on very close to the MotoGP event down there too, on Phillip Island, and these kind of things. It makes an expensive, long 2 weeks there, and people can't always afford to go and travel for 2 weekends in a row. But that's my own opinion. However, I am disappointed that we're not going back there, because it's some of these places, even Auckland, New Zealand, when we were there, was unbelievable. So I hope they don't give up on these areas, and we still find some great capital cities, or at least bigger name cities that we can go to.
Yeah. But do you think it could be an option then to, because when you were in New Zealand, we started the season with going there, and with Melbourne we end the season with going there. Do you think maybe it's a better way to start in Down Under?
In one way, it is, because they're coming out of their summertime, so the weather is still pretty nice, and we're just kind of going into our summer, if you want to say, or spring or whatever. And it's got its bonuses. Either we need to start there or finish there, and probably in the future it would make even more sense if we could tie in a round possibly in Asia, and then into Australia, maybe New Zealand, and finish up in America, or vice versa. It would be great. I'd love to see that on the calendar, and eventually it'd be really, really interesting to see if you could run a 20-round Grand Prix series on its own, and see if they could grow it even larger.
So, do you aim for a real home Grand Prix?
I've been aiming for that for like 30 years, I haven't given up hope yet.
No.
Is it why you're still going strong? Is it?
Yeah.
That's the reason.
That's the big carrot, One day, one day, I'm gonna be like 65. One day, it's gonna be here.
But I want to turn the clock back and look back and see what's happening for like 6 months ago. And I know we met you in Stockholm's Grand Prix 2007, and then you were injured, and you didn't know even if you will get this wild card for the Grand Prix for 2018. What was your feeling there? Please tell us, how did you do the work to still get your body in shape and everything, and then you get the wild card? Tell us the story about it.
Well, it's one of those things that I've never had to try to qualify for the Grand Prix. I've always maintained the status of being there, and which I'm very grateful for, and I work hard every year to stay in the top 8 or top 10 or whatever they were giving out each year. But for me, I never looked at the GP as I just want to make sure I stay in the top 8. I looked at it as I always wanted to win, And if I had, if I won one year, great. And then I spent like 14 seasons trying to chase my own tail and see how badly I wanted to win. And I went, from second place and third and fifth and eighth and and sixth and seventh, and I was all over the board. But I always said to myself, if I don't qualify, if I don't make it in a year, then I don't deserve to be there. Something went really wrong, or I've lost something, and I've tried to keep it that way. I'm pretty tough on myself. I'm my biggest critic, good and bad. And when this happened this year, or last year when I had that injury, and I knew I was out, and I thought, oh my gosh, you hear rumors, you have to get a wild card. They got to give you a wild card, or I wonder if you'll get a wild card. And then you start to wonder, like, I'm not a spring chicken here. Are they really going to consider giving a wild card out to the oldest guy in the group? And maybe I have a decent history, but is that enough? The FIM and the people who make the decisions these days, they have different ways of thinking, and maybe it was time to move the old guy on. So for me, I really don't know. I wasn't sure. I want to say I was confident I would get a place, but some of the things that have happened over the last few years with some of the decisions that have been made, I'm not really sure if I'm a favorite, So you got to ask the question.
Yeah. But did you did they ask you the question? Do you want to ride, or did they just start to talk to you like, we consider having you in the next year as well, or do you just have a message like, you're in?
Both, actually. I did get the message, if you got a wild card spot, would you take it?
Yeah.
And that was the kind of what put to me. Of course I would. So then they knew. So they wanted to see, they didn't want to waste their time, in one way and say that you got a spot and then you say, no thanks, I don't want to do it. They don't want to, make it look bad. But because I hadn't come out clear and said, I don't want to be in the GP. I maintained my interest and desire to be world champion still. So I was good in that way. So when I got the call quite early and they let me know just before they announced it. So I was pretty pleased,
Yeah. But when was this? Was it during last season already, or was it during the winter, or?
It was not long. I mean, literally right after Melbourne. They made the decision quite quickly. And I got a phone call from they were in Melbourne, and they called me to ask me that question. Will you take it if you get it?
Yeah.
So it was, I can't remember the exact day, but it was within a day or two after the event.
Yeah, okay. So you were still in your own rehab during that time?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So then you got some more motivation to keep on the rehab.
Absolutely. Well, and I know that if I want to have a decent shoulder and body the rest of my life, I had to keep the rehab going anyway.
Yeah.
I got 3 kids to play with.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was like this. When you get this decision that you should get this wild card, you also have another choice. And I spoke to Simon last day, and we say to each other, we almost always speak about the elitserien, the Swedish league, and something happened there also. You left Piraterna for Dackarna. We know the sad story about Piraterna, but tell us why Dackarna.
Fortunately, that hasn't turned out to be a sad story. That's been a great story. So, Dackarna was one of the first clubs to make contact with me at that stage, and Västervik also were very quick. Morgan Anderson was quick to it.
Okay.
So I had, which is always nice too, because you're in the position where you're thinking, I had this injury, I couldn't finish the year. Am I still going to be, am I still an interest to the clubs and blah blah blah. You have all these questions you start asking yourself when you really think, no, I'm all right. I'll be fine. So it was good, but they came with the right attitude, and then they mentioned that Peter Carlson would also be the team manager. So for me, that was quite interesting because I knew that I have a really good relationship with PK, and he's, we've been friends for many years. He's a really good.
Yeah, that's good. But during this winter time, you had this rehab going on back in US and so on. But you also had a lot of extra time, like the end of the season and the winter, which you usually don't have. And I think you used it in some interesting ways, starting some new projects as well. I'm thinking about actually 2 things, but you can choose where to start. But one thing is your racing team Hancock High, and another thing is your own podcast, which is interesting, I think. So if you start with
first.
Yeah, start with Hancock High. How did it end up, and what's the reason behind it?
That's been something that my lead mechanic Raphael High and I have been talking about for quite a number of years, as doing something to basically to get more involved with the kids to begin with, and that was to Poland has an amazing breeding ground for bringing up the youngsters, and they don't really have that valuable of a junior speedway program, but they put kids on 500cc motorcycles at a very early age. And there are the random 85cc classes and a couple of 250s, but it hasn't been much over the last few years. It's very, very random. So they throw a 12-year-old kid on a 500, hypothetically, and turn him loose, which I was riding 500s when I was 12 years old too, riding friends' bikes, but I came up from junior speedway, so when I got on that, it made it a lot easier. But jumping on a 500cc speedway bike for the first time, and never riding anything else, any other speedway form, that's an eye opener, And so basically, we wanted to do something where he could begin getting involved with the youth program and helping them to develop a type of four-stroke series like we have in the States, because I was always pushing Raphael, like, you got to do this, you got to try this, check this out, this is a great idea, something that would be massive for the future. But over the last 2 or 3 years now, you've seen like Janusz Kolodziej developed a great training school for all the kids, and he's killing it. He's doing so good with it, and building a lot of kids up from 125, from 50 cc up to 125 and 150, I think. And then they move on to the 250s and the 500s. So he's got a really cool program going. And that would have been something good for Raphael too. However, he and I looked more at just trying to find a way that we could mix the Polish community of juniors with the American community, with the Swedish community, and get more involved so that you could make it more internationally competitive, not just... in the 80cc classes right now, it seems like the Danes, they just dominate year after year after year. For whatever reason, I've never really dove into it that heavily, but I know they've got some great equipment, and why it's quite expensive too. That 80cc class is really, really expensive. So for me, the four-stroke classes that we have in the US and they have in Australia and also in England now too, they are a much more economical and I truly believe better form of teaching the riders how to ride a conventional speedway bike. The 80cc, you guys in Scandinavia in particular have developed some fantastic world champions over the years, so we can't say it's been negative at all. We're just trying to look at it on a wider perspective, that the sport has had its ups and downs, and financially it's been taking a big hit in more recent years. So what can we do to make that... more broad and better overall. So this is where the Hancock High thing started, and we began last year with when I was injured too, it was the time to start because I had a lot of time on my hands. And we went with the 250 project and helped the 2 American kids that came over for the World Championship, and then we helped Victor Lampard, the Polish kid who was in the World Championship. Yeah. So we kind of, that was our kickoff, to mix the American boys with the Polish guy who was much more established than the Americans, and get our feet wet. So we got in, we learned a heck of a lot because we didn't know anything about the 250s. And by the time we walked away from there after 4 days and 4 engine blow-ups, we learned that, wow, there's a lot to this, Oh. So it was a lot of fun. We worked with Sebastian Palmisi and Colton Hicks from the States, and then Victor Lampard. And then I got to spend the weekend with Eric Anderson and the whole crew from Sweden, from Denmark, from Germany, and I fell in love with it. And then from that point, Raphael and I decided, we had our mechanics there, all of our team gear, everything. We just said, we need to grow this. Let's do something more. Let's get involved with the under 21 guys, and let's even see if we can step into a Grand Prix status. And we can do so much more. We got so much more to offer our sponsors, and we can create like a stepping stone appeal from the beginning to give the kids a chance. Hopefully they give them a chance to dream, and one day you help them from the beginning that they might want to stay with the team all the way through and become world champions under the Hancock High banner, hopefully. Yeah. And in the very worst case, we teach them something, so when they get to on their own 2 feet, that we can just say, yeah, we helped them to get there.
Yeah. So is this something you aim for, like, let's not talk about the end of your career, because we hope it's not that close, but when you reach the end of your career, is this something you plan for, like a team manager, to keep on with this team Hancock High?
It's something, of course, I would like to have something that I can be involved with now, and then, eventually, years down the line, when I decide to do other things, I would, of course, the idea is to establish it now so I can continue to work with it and build it, because I see there's a lot of things that I've learned over the years that I feel I could help to make better. Yeah. But all the time while I'm in it, it's really tough to do everything. So you need good people around you, which we have, doing specific jobs, and we're still learning so much from the marketing and promotional side, and how do we actually make ends meet. But we have the right people in the group and good sponsors behind us, so we're just going to keep rolling. We'll see how it goes, one step at a time.
Yeah, interesting. And just to final this up, you also, like you said, you have this all the way into the Grand Prix series now, together with Chris.
That's right, Chris Holder.
And how do that work out during Grand Prix? Are you like having the pits next to each other? Are you having the same mechanics, or how close do you work together during a Grand Prix?
Well, Chris and I in particular have been friends for a lot of years, so it's really easy for me to work together with him, and we share a lot of information. Even though we're complete different riders, we have our own crews, we have our own equipment. This is still very new. We're trying to bring all our sponsors together and get all our equipment together so that we can work together with specific brands and help to develop the brands so that the Hancock High team will have what we feel are the best brands and the best products in the market to go win. And sometimes you have to, move up and change things, but it's real easy to work with Chris, and he's a pretty straight shooter, and he's had the last couple of years have been a little bit difficult with a few different things, but now he's back on his feet again, and he's ready to win. So for me, it's fantastic to work alongside of him, and he motivates me as much as I hope that I motivate him too. So we have our pits together. We have the same outfit, and we do as much together as we can, but we're still very much individuals at the same time.
Yeah. And then when you guys meet in like a league, like in Sweden, you're from Dakarna and he's from Lejonen. What's the feeling then?
Hello. Oh, it's you're still individuals in that sense, so we're still competing against each other, off the track or on and off the track. But coming to the league races, it's no different than it always has been, except that sometimes you feel like I know his routines and I know how he rides and I can kind of predict what he's going to do. But even so, you have to be fast if you're going to beat him to the point.
What are the other people the other drivers said about that you have a team and they are alone?
You know what? Nobody really says anything. I think there's more of the question. A lot of people are standing around. They're just saying, "What's this all about? Why?" Because it would be a different story if Chris and I were winning every race. Then it might be a little bit more concerning. At the moment,
but you are from different country, and you still be in a team.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And I mean, that side of it doesn't make any difference, but you're still, I think there will be more teams in the future. I'm quite sure that other riders or other sponsors or organizations will get involved, and I've already heard a lot of rumors about this happening. So I hope that it does. We're not trying to be leaders in any way. We just want to win races, and we feel that we can be even stronger. It doesn't matter if I win or Chris wins on the day. I want to beat him bad, but I want our team to do well and our sponsors to be happy because we gave back and we showed them that what they're doing for us is paying off.
Yeah, but then an interesting question will be, let's say end of this season, last Grand Prix or last two Grand Prix, one of you guys fight for the world title, world champions, and the other guy doesn't. How many team orders will you have?
Well, when we get to that point, I'll lay down the law and tell Chris, and this is how it is, man. No, I'm just kidding. No, you know what? That part there are no team orders whatsoever. This is just something that the two of us want to win, and if it gets down to the point where the two of us are challenging for something in specific, it's going to be like, give each other knuckles before the race starts and say, may the best man win.
That's great. Jag tar det lite på svenska. Jag tappar orden här nu för jag har varit lite exalterad över de här svaren. 3 tävlingar har gått. 4:e tävlingen är på gång. Du ligger på en bra plats nu. Ditt mål nu inför resten av GP-säsongen?
Ja, för mig, de första 2 tävlingarna var okej, men de var inte de bästa. Men för mig, jag har precis kommit tillbaka från en axelskada som jag var inte så nöjd med. Men jag behövde att bara komma igång igen och visa jag kan hänga med. Jag hade fart och jag hade heter det självförtroende, confidence.
Self-confidence,
Yes.
Ja, och visa dem att jag kommer vinna. Ni kommer inte ta över nu. Jag vill visa alla att jag kan bli världsmästare igen. Så den tredje förra veckan i Horsens var fantastisk. För jag har haft lite problem med cyklarna, lite grejer som vi har försökt att hitta någonting nytt som kunde vara bättre eller renovera kan man säga. Men det har gått bättre och bättre. Det känns att mina momentum har börjat bli mycket bättre nu. Jag har mera fart, jag har mera bra känsla med cykeln. Jag jobbar tillsammans med cykeln och allting vi har gjort går rätt hållet. Så jag tog lite mer poäng i Horsens och var nära i finalen där att komma igång igen. Men det var en stor steg för mig.
You did a third place there. It was very, very, very good. And please tell us about what did you change from the first two Grand Prix. You tell us you did something with the engines. Was it all about that? Was it all about the engines or something else?
It's never just about the engines. It's it wasn't so much with the engines as it was with some. We had some major clutch issues that I was working on, and everything to be a winner, you need to have everything needs to be in its place, and they got to be working together. So if you have a good engine and your clutch doesn't work, it's going to be difficult to win the heat anyway, because you need to make the start and you need a good clutch to make the start. And if you got a good clutch and you don't have the engine, that's not working. And then if you put all these things together, all the good clutches and the good engines, and then the head's not working, it's quite the puzzle. So basically speaking, I was having some serious issues with clutches that was starting to make me wonder what the real problem was, or I shouldn't say problem, more of an issue. Why can't I get this working correctly? Why can't I get to the corner more smooth? Why I'm jumping good, but I'm not flowing to the corner. And fortunately, I figured it out in Prague in the second Grand Prix. I was a little bit close to realizing I think this is the issue, and then right after my last heat in Prague, I found something quite serious that we needed to make a change to, and when I did that, or we did that, the next league meeting that I had in Poland, it went fantastic, and then the next league meeting in Sweden went fantastic, and then it just started. Suddenly you don't sit on the bike in the same way. You start to straighten your arms a little bit more, you start to relax a little bit more, you're much more focused at the start. You at the starting line, you're like a loaded gun, but you can't be a nervous loaded gun. You got to be relaxed and just ready to go when the first moment, when the tapes move. You got to be on your mark. So it's pretty much that's what's been happening. We've fixed that. We've actually made a few adjustments to two of my engines now, which has just gotten even better. So the whole mechanical side is really coming together, and that puts more emphasis on the guy who's turning the throttle, dropping the clutch, and steering the thing.
Yeah. Another question. I know this is a question that every Swedes like to ask every Speedway driver, but who tuner do you use to choose?
Well, I work with various right now, trying to find the ultimate combination, but I really like the stuff that's coming out of Jan Anderson's place there down your neck of the woods.
Okay.
And I got some stuff from a guy in Poland too, from Kowalski, and of course I've been using stuff from Peter Johns as well. So I have a little bit of equipment around, and you want to say where you get what you pay for, and these guys are really good. If you give back good feedback, you get good feedback as well. So I'm always trying to be a little better, and what works for me probably doesn't necessarily work for the guy next to me, and that's the beauty of it. So it's not just engines. I'm working hard with my chassis, and have a couple of great people behind me there that are assisting us with various different things, and wheels and tires and all sorts. So I'm crazy like that. I never stop trying to be a little bit better with my equipment, and I don't want to run the same thing that everybody's using.
What do you do with the chassis?
We do a lot of work with frames and different materials and different angles and things like that with my chassis and all the stuff. That I leave that to the guys that know what they're doing, and I just tell them if I like it or I don't like it, or it's doing a little bit of this or it's doing a little bit of that, and let them do the engineering part. I just give my feelings.
Sounds like a great job.
Yeah, because I remember for a very long time when Tony Rickardsson was one of the most greatest guy. He also did a lot of things with the chassis.
That's right.
I think he started that thing.
Yeah, many riders have done things over the years, but I think Tony, he really did it special there, working with Penske, and he made some really extreme modifications to the bikes, which were it was very, very difficult to notice if you didn't get close to the bikes. And of course, the mechanics were good not to let you get too close most of the time. So these days it's quite fun to look at the bikes that are sitting in the MX World Museum down in Vimmerby. You can get a really good idea of what he was up to, and makes you wonder if are those the ones he was actually racing, or where are those ones? So Tony was a step ahead of the rest, and very, very creative and influential in many cases. So I tried to watch him as closely as I could, but the guy was like a machine.
Yeah, he was. I must ask you. You have 4 GP wins. Are you ahead to going forward him, or before you stop?
You know what? I never set out any goals to break any records or beat anybody in that way. As long as I was racing, I just wanted to win, and I want to be the best that I can be, and that means the best in the world. So I was happy with winning 1 world title, and when I got the second one, I was so jazzed, and then get the third one and got the 4th one, and then I'm like, man, this is awesome. This is what it's all about. This is all I want to do, and next year I'm going to do it like this, and I'm going to do that. So it's when you get rolling, you have to you got to have reality too. Don't let you can't get ahead of yourself, and you can't get too greedy, but everybody needs a little greed.
But when talking about world titles, you always say like winning your first world title is something really special, and I guess it is. But then you always talk about winning the second one, and for you it was like, I don't know, 14, 15 years between the first one and the second one.
Yeah, I lost count.
What was the feeling when you, after so long time from the first one, finally had the second one?
Crazy. That just, first of all, to look at the statistics of it and having so many years in between this going, what's wrong with me? Where was I? What the heck was happening these last 14 years? What have I been doing? And, you're always there, but suddenly it was just, I remember I was on the verge of just calling it a day in 2009, 2010. I was over it because I thought, you know what? Maybe I'm just chasing something that's not there. And suddenly I met some people involved with this Pro Drive from the rally car in England, which is kind of like the Penske for Tony. And these guys, they said something to me and asked me a few questions, and I am so grateful that they did, because they transformed my career from 2010. And then I just remember once we finished. I shouldn't say finished, but we reached a pinnacle of many tests with chassis testing, and told them the issues that I was having and the bad habits that I have from the old days from the US and turning hard, and they just said, we should just make a few modifications to help you in this point and that point and out of the start, and let's see what we can do. And I'll never forget when I got this one particular combination together, and I rode it the first time in the practice, and I stopped after 2 laps and said to my mechanic that I could win the world championship on this. And he just went, "What?" And lo and behold, 1 year later, man, things turned around, and it's just gone from strength to strength. So I'm a firm believer that you don't need to just buy what's on the shelf because everybody else has got it. I'm the kind of guy who wants to have something a little bit different and a little bit better for me, not just what works for the guy next door. So, and then I've met more and more people from the car industry, from the U.S. as well, who has helped me so much with wheels and exhausts, and you have to have an open mind, but you got to know when to throw it in the pile with the wind chimes, as he always says too.
But just let's go back then to this winter. Now we talked a little bit about the Grand Prix and this coming up this Saturday. But also now you started your own podcast this winter, which I was really interested in from the very beginning, because I thought you should talk a lot about your Speedway and your career and so on. But actually you talk about everything.
Yeah. And that's been fun.
Yeah. So what's the reason behind starting this podcast?
It's my wife. She put me up to this, and she knows I like to talk. I can talk with everybody, and sometimes too much. And she's like, you should start your own podcast. I'm like, what? I just started laughing. What the hell are you talking about? You should do a podcast. You like to talk, and I think you have a lot to say. Like, well, I've got a lot to say. I don't know if it means anything, but yeah, sure. So, it kind of went there for about a year. She was on me to do it, and I just kind of dished it, and then suddenly she made a comment about something, and you should find somebody to do a podcast with together and tell your story.
Yeah.
So... And that's kind of what it was. And then it's Stefan, who I don't know if you guys have met Stefan yet.
No.
My buddy on the podcast. He's become a really good friend over the years, and he does build my website, and has been involved with me on my charity bicycle ride that we do, he's like, he's the regular guy. I'm the guy living in the Speedway bubble, and he's the regular guy, as we refer to it. And we share so much. This is what's happening in my everyday life, and then he tells us what's happening in real life. So we have a little bit of fun with it, and it's mainly about my Speedway most of the time, and the people I've mixed with. And the idea is that I've never written a book, really. We had one book that we did, myself and Billy Hamill, but I've never written my own biography, and I don't know if I want to, I feel so much better telling the story word from mouth. And it seems like this was the idea. I want to tell my story right from the horse's mouth and let everybody hear it. And it might not follow in sequence, but it will be quite interesting. So I want to go back and talk to all the people that I've been involved with from the day one, as many as I can find, and that would still care to talk to me, and tell the story. But along the way, we're living life too, and there's a lot going on every day, not just what's happening in the Speedway, but around the Speedway, and really what makes us tick, and keeps us going. Yeah. So that's how this has all going good, and the podcast that's coming out this week with Eric Gunderson, it's just coming out today, actually. Oh. It's unreal, and I have a lot of respect, and I'm going to say he's like a mentor. He was a mentor, and he's still a hero. I still get starstruck when I see him, and it's really cool, and to hear him where he is today in life, and we had a really good over an hour chat about where he is today and what it was like when I came to live with him, and previous world team cups and things like that in the U.S. and it's really, really interesting and fascinating for me as a Speedway guy. And I'm sure if you guys know Eric or know of his history, you'll get a kick out of hearing it from him too.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it.
It's cool. It's really cool, man. It's, and I intend to do a lot more of this stuff and talk to these people, and not just, they're not going to get the questions that they get asked every day. They're going to get the questions of our involvement, or, maybe it could be a little bit controversial too from time to time if they want to talk about it, but that's what the people want to hear too.
Yeah, for sure. But the name of your podcast is Real 45. But
yep.
Just because maybe our English isn't the best. Real with 2 E. What really? If try to take it in Swedish, what does it mean? What's the thing behind the name?
It's the reel is like a film reel, On old school, when you made a movie and the tape was winding around the wheel, the film reel.
Okay.
And basically what it is the reel comes from my story of my life has been recorded on the reel. Okay. And it's the Real 45. So basically my life of being number 45 coming up to present day, and now I've kind of like, I'm rewinding the reel, and going back and telling the story. So we're kind of...
Okay.
That's where the reel comes from. It sounds complicated to some, but for me it made sense that I've been recording my life since day one, and now I'm going to go back and tell everybody the story in case they missed it along the way.
Yeah, that's cool.
If they care to listen.
Oh, that's great. Simon, something more about this ämne?
About this ämne? Just now, like this podcast, you are the one we interview, and that's more maybe the normal life for you. What's the feeling being on the other side, doing the interviews? It's
it's so different, because now I'm kind of waiting for what you guys are gonna ask me, and then I'm elaborating, so it's kind of fun, and you never know what's coming. The best thing is that when someone like you guys, you ask different questions. You don't ask the same questions that you're approached with all the time, and then you get a much more interesting conversation. So, which you guys have done now too. You've looked at it in another way and ask some similar questions, but you have a different twist on them. So I like that, because then it makes you think, and you can't just be sort of pre-recorded on your answers. And it's kind of cool. But I love this podcast thing, because you're just sitting in a room, and many times Stefan and I, we just end up in a conversation, and then he just hits record at some point, and then we're off, Yeah. And we don't have a huge structure to our podcast right now, because we want it to be kind of real, as in the real, R-E-A-L, and kind of raw, not just we're following a game plan. We want to make sure I got to ask this question, make sure I ask that question. We always have some notes so we don't forget things that we want to do, but much of the time with some of the people we've interviewed, or most of them, they pretty much walk you right into everything and a lot more that you wanted to get out of them. And I sometimes learn so much from it, and I found myself just kind of like drooling, almost like, wow, I didn't even know that about you, or that we did this or you did that. So I get super, super inspired by doing the podcast. I love it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Great. I can twist it more now, because I like to ask one more question. On the 19th, you and Bill Hamill was the biggest star actually in the Swedish league. You were from American, you were very big. Then Billy Hamill took off. You still going strong, and you're still going strong. But what's happening in the US with the Speedway? Or is Speedway dead?
Well, it's definitely not dead, but it's been in better shape, If it wasn't for guys like one of the current promoters, Kelly Inman, to begin with, who promotes the track in Industry, City of Industry in LA area. If it wasn't for people like him, and then you have Dave Joyner in the northern part of California, but some of these guys have got so much love and passion for the sport still, and they refuse to let it go down. I don't believe we have enough good promoters left in the U.S. right now that can capitalize on the aspect of the game and what it's all about. During the 70s and 80s, Speedway was so great and so big in California in particular, and it was a spectacle, you know. Now it's maybe it's just the era, you know. There's so much going on with social media and other sports, and then you have all these action sports, and everybody can get involved, which is great. But Speedway is pretty cool, and they need something new. I think that it needs to be changed. The bikes have outgrown the tracks, so the tracks need to grow in, and a couple of good promoters like Kelly Inman and give people a little bit more to offer and get the kids involved, because that's always the key to it.
Yeah.
You got to have the kids, so the kids have dreams and they have heroes to follow. So that's about it.
But does the American people follow you in the GP? Do you know any? Are you big in the US?
In the Speedway world, yes, and perhaps my name is known a little bit around in different racing industries, from motocross and some car racing, and because we've worked with a lot of people in those industries. And believe it or not, there are a lot of Speedway fans from the NASCAR world, from the motocross world, IndyCar world, and sprint car world, but they can't get access to Speedway except for on the internet, you know, which is great, but a lot of people sit in front of their television and channel surf, and you never see Speedway. You had periods where we have some channels over there, you know, ESPN or Speed Channel, Motors TV. There's lots of great channels, and now today you have MAV TV, which is huge, and they used to buy the Grand Prix package from BSI or IMG or whoever was promoting it back in the day, and they would show the Grand Prix series, but not until the end of the year. So it would show from November, December, January, for instance. They would show the whole series after it was finished. And believe it or not, that gained so much momentum and so much interest in the U.S. And the amount of people, I still get messages from people around different states that say, congratulations or good job, man, we're hanging with you, Stars and Stripes. And this is not just California. It can be in Texas, it can be in New York, it can be in Indianapolis, it can be in South Carolina, it can be all over the place. Even Canada, you know, northern parts there. So, but nowadays I think that perhaps the marketing bodies could be a little bit more lenient and maybe have to give up a little bit to try to not sell the package for so expensive that that the networks don't want to buy it. It'd be nice to see them give it away a little bit more just to create the interest. And I don't know, I'm biased. I would really, you know, you have a lot of family that just, everybody still likes to sit on the sofa and turn the TV on and see what's on, you know? Yeah. And unless you have your computer or good with the net or know how to get a pirate version of an event somewhere. It's, that's what it is, man.
But Speedway in America or in the US, is it like California where the Speedway are, or is Speedway spread all over the country, or where are Speedway in the US?
Yeah, like you just said, it's mainly California-based. Southern California is the biggest, and then Northern California is also decent. But I think we have 3 tracks in the south, and then you have one or two kind of just north of LA, and then you have up in the Sacramento area, you have Auburn, and then you have another track called I forget the name of it now. Big Time Speedway, I think it is, and that's a little bit more in the Bay Area. Yeah. So. And then you have 2 tracks in New York. You have a track in Indianapolis. There's 1 or 2 tracks in Colorado. And even North Carolina's got 1 or 2 small speedway tracks, but that's very, very limited. Okay. So it's a minority sport, really, really small.
Yeah. But the tracks themselves.
Sorry, Sam. I must go for you. You have 2 times. I must ask you, Greg. Is there any league in the US?
No league racing at all. It's all what you would classify as like individual or show events. You know, so you would go, if you want to race on let's say Saturday night in Costa Mesa or Wednesday night in City of Industry, you just have to call and sign up, and you go to the race, and whatever division you're in, you have like the top division, first division, you have second division, which is like intermediate, then you have third division, which is like the beginners or amateurs, and then you have the junior speedway program, which is the same. They have, I think, 3 divisions of junior speedway from a 50cc class to a 125 to a 140 class, and even 250s now as well. So you go there, you pay your entry fee of $20 or $30, and maybe a license you have to buy one time a year. And if they have place on the program, you can get in. And you go racing, and you race for a trophy, and there's prize money at the end of the night. So if you win the big event, you walk home with a nice little paycheck, and it's pretty fun. It's great. It's a show, so the people get a new winner every night, and it's some of the tracks are been there forever, and like Costa Mesa Speedway. But then Industry it's got like an enclosed arena. It's a roof over it it's got like the TV, the big Teletron in the middle of the arena, like a hockey match, so you can watch the race live on TV. They're live and streaming every match every Wednesday, and it's pretty cool. You can go online and see it too at Industry Racing, and it's neat, but it's still suffering. There's not enough riders, and somebody really needs to get in there and do some work to try to bring it back and keep the kids going.
But what we had, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago, something. A bunch of you guys, Jeep Grand Prix guys, and some European guys, going over to US in like Christmas, New Year's time, and
the Monster Cup.
And that I saw one of those races, and I felt the track itself was quite small. Is that the standard size for the US Speedway, or is it just that single track that is so short?
Did you go to the event, or you saw it on the...
No, I saw it on TV or the computer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it is very small, and that is American Speedway. Exactly. So, we grew up racing on those little tracks. It's more of like a rodeo arena kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Very tight, very close. They used to do a lot of handicap racing too. So you had the beginners starting on the tapes, and then every 10 yards back you were handicapped depending on how good you were. So there'd be 6 riders in a race, and the guy who was the fast guy started on the 60-yard line, which was halfway around the first corner. So, and that's how you learned. But you learned how to pass. You learned the tracks used to have a lot of dirt on them. They were really exciting. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
So you can probably appreciate and understand that when some of the guys come over these days, they really get smoked in the beginning days, because they're not used to a straightaway that's 3 times at least as long as what they're riding on, maybe 4. And it's a different style of riding altogether, but you got to do it.
But to make it like understandable for our Swedish listeners, we have these 80cc tracks in Sweden. Is the US tracks like that size, or is it bigger than 80cc tracks in Sweden, or?
In general, they're quite similar to your 80cc tracks, and I've even seen some of your 80cc tracks that are bigger than our our racetracks.
And you're going with a big 500cc bike on those small tracks? Yep. Yeah.
So it's
but that's American.
That's of course, it's just like, everything's big in America, right? Just not our speedway tracks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, it's quite cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. So it's we specialize on the small tracks, and then when we learn a lot of control. That's probably the best part about American speedway riders, is they have so much control, because they learn how to stop fast, turn the bike quick, which is, in a sense, is kind of like your brakes. On the bigger tracks, it's a little bit harder. You learn how to go fast from day one, and then it's a lot harder to go slow. So if you can ride slow, then you can ride fast.
But I want to ask you one more question before we let you go. Please tell us, how did your speedway career start?
Oh, man.
That's a short one.
That was a short one. You already said we've been talking like an hour. How long do you want me to...
Yeah, I took that one because then we can talk another hour.
Yeah, no, you know that I can talk for another hour, right? You sound like my wife. Yeah. Good question, man.
Yeah, but please, because I know our listeners want to hear that. Speedway people, and they know you, but they do not know how it starts.
Maybe you should have twisted your question and made it into a challenge and said, Greg, in 2 minutes, can you tell us the most detailed version of how you got started in Speedway?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Let's go for that question.
Yeah. It is. But
I'll put it like this.
Please compromise it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, you got it. Basically, my parents split up when I was quite young, 3-4 years old, roughly. And the way I remember it, when they split up, my dad eventually moved out, and he ended up getting his own place, which is down on a little island called Balboa Island in Newport Beach, California, which is very close to Costa Mesa Speedway. And he started going to watch the races on Friday nights at Costa Mesa. I don't know if he was going there before, but definitely when they split up, he started to go together with another rider, Josh Larson, who I used to race with. And our dads were both newly separated, and they lived in apartments. One lived on the upstairs and one on the lower one. And they started to go every Friday night. So every second weekend we were with my dad, and he would pick us up from my mom's place after work and take us down to his house, and we'd go watch Speedway. We'd go have a hot dog and go watch Speedway on Friday nights. And pretty much that became our regular routine during the racing season, during the summer months. We would always go down and watch Speedway, and he started to get involved with some of the guys, the local guys there, which at that time was the Mike Bass and the Dub Farrells and the Bruce Penhall, the very young Bruce Penhall, and Bobby Schwartz and Dennis Segalos, who were all local guys. They were all from that area. And pretty much by him getting involved with them, it became very, very quickly, we became a part of the sport. And I remember the first time I saw the junior Speedway bikes came out on the track. And there was a guy, I think it was even like Lance King was in the junior Speedway, and the one of Kelly Moran, possibly at that stage too, or was just coming out of it. Maybe he was just coming out of it, but that was it, man. As soon as I saw the kids, I never let go of my dad's back pocket going, I want to do this. And my older brother got started before I did, which killed me. So, by the time I turned 7 years old, my dad had started building me a bike. By the time I was 8, I was practicing, and by the time I was 9, I was racing. And basically, it grew from there. We ended up having friends from school and friends from the Balboa area that we started hanging out with from school, and we were sliding our bicycles in the alleys and getting crazy. Everything we did was about getting sideways, So there was no mistake in that I was going to chase this path. And no matter what my dad did, he tried to push me to do other sports, play footballs and basketballs and do all that. But I can do them all, and I can play them all fairly decent. But I knew that if I wanted to do those, then I couldn't be practicing my Speedway racing or the practicing for the games. We're always going to be on the same days that I could be racing Speedway. So I quickly said no to that and kept following this crazy sport that I still haven't been able to let go of.
Yeah. And then to follow up, this is the beginning. Where do we have Greg Hancock in 5 years from now?
Oh gosh, good question. That's a tough one. I've never been able to answer that one from day one. I don't know where I would be in 5 years, but I know that I will be involved in this sport one way or another because I've got kids. One older kid who's really into it, and it's pretty hard to get away from this game. But I still love it. As far as my racing career goes, I don't foresee the near future of deciding that I want to go somewhere else. I still love it too much, and at some stage that's going to change, but as it is now, man, I just want to keep winning.
Yeah, good answer. I like it.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, that's great. I think I have like 200 questions more.
No problem, man. Let me just plug my computer in here to keep it charging. And
this is crazy. It's just popping up in my head.
Now you guys are you're like us too with our podcast. We're always saying we're gonna have to do another one. We're gonna have to catch up with you again and go more deep into this. And we say that to every guest. So I mean, we've got at least 20 years left in the podcast business.
And so do we. Every time.
We do this. Okay, now for sure we do this every week.
That's right. We need to have we just need to have one segment every week, right?
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
And I'll be coming to you guys too. I want to ask you about podcasts, so we'll get on to you. You're gonna have to join us.
Yeah, absolutely. We're up for it.
Oh, that's great. Simon, I don't know if it's time to stop this now, or what do you think, or should we go forward?
Yeah, give it another 5 then.
But you have a lot of guys that are a little bit younger than you. As to say.
That was being very nice.
Yeah, it could be actually your sons. But how hard is it to ride against these riders? Because we have seen for the last maybe 10 years that it's much tougher outside there. You need to be much tougher. You don't give the space that you did for 15 years ago for the other riders. Do you understand my questions?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And the sport has definitely changed. And you know, the new breed of rider and the youngsters today, they have a different style. They have a different technique, and they ride by the seat of their pants, a lot of these guys. So the old school was a little bit more traditional, classic, sort of feel the bike and sit in a different way, where today many of these guys, they just get on it, they turn the throttle, they drop the clutch, and they just, wherever they've got to be on the bike to make it, compensate for what they're doing on the track or the track conditions and the engine combinations, they just do it, and I can't hang off the bike like they do. My body just won't do that. So for me, the only way to stay competitive is to be smarter as much as I can, which is still not easy because these guys they just figure it out so fast. And I need to have better equipment, I definitely ride harder than I used to, but I'm still very calculated, I think, in my own riding. So I don't put myself in a position I can't get out of. Accidents happen, or things, situations happen where you can't get out of it because somebody made something crazy in front of you or right behind you, and you just got to ride it out, hopefully. And for me, I know I got to stick it in there and get the, kind of get the first punch in a way, but you got to be calculated, and you need to be, you know where you're going. So it's tough, but if it was easy, you guys would be doing it too, and everybody else would be doing it, and then it would be a whole other story. So I just got to do what I can to be a little bit better than the rest.
But what do you think about this? Is it good for the sport, or is it bad for the sport that it have been like this?
Oh, it's spectacular, man. I think it's great for the sport. It's sometimes we have our run-ins with specific riders for one reason or another, and we don't need to throw names around, but I'll leave you guys to juggle your imagination. And it gets pretty exciting and some guys they do things on the bike, and you just think, there's no way. How could he do that and still stay on the bike, let alone in front? So it's great for the sport. I think the spectacle, this game is so perfect for so many reasons: for television, for excitement, for speed, for dirt, for smell. It's got so many great points about it.
But isn't it more dangerous for you?
Well, yeah, it can be more dangerous, but, it's what's not dangerous anymore, To step outside your front door every morning is not the safest thing to do in these days. So
walking downstairs.
now you open the door and you have a look around, where you used to just open the door and run outside.
That's true. That's true. But No, not now, Simon. You had incident with Nicky Pedersen in Motala for a couple of years ago, when you actually run against him and give him a punch in the air. Then you were really upset because he's driving too hard, or?
I didn't actually run, I tripped.
It was more like a Superman, I think.
Yeah, I kind of tripped and I put the Superman imitation on. It was all staged. It wasn't supposed to happen like that.
That's some picture.
Yeah, that's right. I'm from Hollywood, man.
On him. But tell me a little bit. That's when will it be too hard to driving? In this time, I think you're thinking he's doing this unfair, or?
Well, that's, obviously you saw there that I lost my cool because of he went over the edge again, and I've been the victim of his side a couple of times, and most of the time he usually says it's my fault because I didn't shut the throttle off quick enough or avoid it. So, and I think I'm usually pretty good to try to avoid crashing. I hate going down, but you see it time and time again, not just him, other guys too. And even the Grand Prix last weekend, there was, he was involved in one or two incidents, and he doesn't need to do that. He's so good, he's so fast, and he does things sometimes and you think, gosh, why? He just made a problem for himself more than anything. He could have done that so clean and so smooth, but it becomes so deliberate that he ends up destroying his own chances or crashing himself because of it. Sometimes it works in his favor, but most of the time it doesn't. And I don't know. I don't get that. If fortunately, not too many guys have ended up seriously injured because of his antics. And again, it's not just him. There's other guys out there too, even in the Grand Prix series, who I have my concerns about, and I encourage the officials to pay attention to what they're doing, and it's sometimes it's use, it's experience, and it's whatever, but we don't need to ride over our heads. It's a dangerous sport, and some of the conditions we're riding in now can be a little bit extreme, so we have to take precautions. But everyone wants to win too, and you can see the price they'll pay to get the 3 points.
Yeah. But do you think this is like a referee issue to settle these things down, or is it just a mentality that are there from the younger riders? Okay, Nicky's not the young one, but you also saw this Saturday, in my opinion, that he went down 2 times and he did it by himself both times. So, and still he got the referee with them. So it's harder to be a referee and harder to take care of the situations nowadays when the racing is much harder.
Of course, the referees have got a lot riding on their plates, and it's very difficult for them to make these decisions. And I can see where the referees made the decisions that not to exclude him from races. Absolutely, you can see their reasons for it. However, if you just back it up, for maybe 100 meters before, and then read the position, you could see what was going to happen. Yeah. And you've got to be very good at what you do and be willing to take a hit in order to get the exclusion. So the referee sees one thing, and all he saw was what happened, and the guy went down and what caused him to go down. But sometimes I wish they would back it up a little bit and consider what happened the corner before or the lead up to it, rather than just the particular incident itself. Because sometimes riders get excluded for just being on their regular line and not doing anything, where the other one comes in front of them and goes down. Exactly. And suddenly you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Yeah. It's my opinion.
Yeah. I'm sorry to going back for this, but what is your situation with Nicky Pedersen now? Are you talking to each other after this, or do you not just ignore each other?
No, we tolerate each other. I don't think I don't have any reason to walk up to him and talk to him about the price of tea in China or anything like that. But it's one of them things that we say hi to each other, we shake hands and whatever, and I just know that I keep him an arm length away, and I'm sure that he keeps me at least that far away. But he's also the kind of guy, he loves the drama, he loves to have the people on him, he loves the people to talk about him, and he feeds off of that. So I have no reason to feed him.
Men om vi säger så här då, vi tar lite svenska nu som avslutning, känner jag.
Ja.
Varför ska man komma till Hallstavik på lördag, om du får ta det kort, för din egen skull?
Ja, för att se en riktigt bra Speedway GP-tävling. Jag tror den här tävlingen kan bli en av de bästa i år. Absolut, det är säkert. För den här banan är fantastisk. Inte så lång, den är kort, tight. Och det blir mycket folk, och du kan... Läktaren är så nära banan, så det känns att du kan vara med varje hit. Och det kommer också bli en riktigt kul ny system som BSI ska försöka och ha en en soffa eller några stolar i inneplan. För det blir lite VIP-folk som kan i framtiden kan betala och kolla på några hits från insidan där, från inneplan.
Jaha.
Så de kommer att köra en liten they're going to do a sample test this weekend in Hallstavik. Yeah, I have to change. I lost the word.
That's okay.
That's okay. Okay.
So they will do a test run this weekend, with VIP seats in the middle of the track, so you can watch the races from there. And if you've never seen a speedway race from the inside, I would say you should try it, because you get a complete different idea. It's way more exciting.
For sure.
Yeah. Then you feel how crazy you are.
Maybe you will. You get more of a feeling for the speed and how much the riders work on the bike from the inside.
Yeah,
you can't see it as much from the outside.
Yeah. It's actually crazy. I don't know how much how high speed you have in Hallstavik, but I know in Kumla they're doing like 120 kilometers an hour. And then they should turn, and then they just put the front wheel at the wrong side.
That's right.
That's how we see it.
That's it. Yeah. That's my life.
So, that's your life. It's a crazy sport.
You gotta get sideways.
That's a crazy life. But maybe that's why we love this sport, Simon.
Yep, for sure it is.
That's why I love it too, guys.
Så konkurrensen mot fotbolls-VM, så är ändå Speedway en vinnande här.
Det blir tungt. Men jag läste nu att de ska ha en stor skärm på banan där, så alla kan kolla på matchen innan Speedway-matchen börjar.
Ja, nej, det kommer bli grymt. Du, Greg, vi önskar dig all lycka till och lycka till på den gamla hemmabana. Och jag tror och jag vet att det är många lyssnare som känner på oss att du har många år framöver på den här Speedway-cykeln.
Kul.
Ja. Feel no pressure.
Nej, jag förstår. Men jag är jättetacksam till ni alla, och jag hoppas det blir en riktigt bra match för mig också. Men nu kör vi, va?
Ja, det gör vi. Och
kör hårt på lördag, och tack för att du var med idag.
Ja, tack själv, grabbar, och vi ses snart igen.
Det gör vi.
Ja, vad grymt.
Ha det bra.
Mycket.
Ha det bra.
Thank you.
Ja, hej då allihopa.
Hej då.
Du lyssnar på Metanol, en Speedway-podd i samarbete med kickpunch.se, en av de skarpaste illustratörerna och designerna på marknaden. Speedwaynyheter.se, Skandinaviens ledande nyhetssida för Speedway. NordicBet, spelbolaget med de bästa oddsen på nationell och internationell Speedway. Stalllyktan, en av de mest anrika pubbarna i hjärtat av Örebro.